So let us see. We will read from Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we will read chapter 18, Attaining the Supreme, text 19. Actually, I think we'll read a couple of verses. I think we'll read 18, 19, yes, and 20. Right. Avyakta Divyaktaya Sarva Prabhavant Yahar Agame Rajyagame Praliyante Tatraiva Vyakta Samyake. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state. And thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. It's deep, isn't it? That's very deep. Let us carry on. Text 19. That 18 doesn't have a purport, so let us read text 19. Bhutagrama seevaya bhutva bhutva praliyate rajyagame vasha parta prabhavat yahar agame. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The less intelligent who try to remain within this material world may be elevated to higher planets, and then again must come down to this planet Earth. During the daytime of Brahma, they can exhibit their activities on higher and lower planets within this material world. But at the coming of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. In the day, they receive various bodies for material activities, and at night, they no longer have bodies, but remain compact in the body of Vishnu. Then again they are manifest at the arrival of Brahma's day. Bhutva, bhutva praliyate. During the day they become manifest, and at night they are annihilated again. Ultimately, when Brahma's life is finished, they're all annihilated and remain unmanifest for millions and millions of years. And when Brahma is born again in another millennium, they are again manifest. In this way, they are captivated by the spell of the material world. But those intelligent persons who take to Krishna consciousness use the human life fully in the devotional service of the Lord, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, they transfer themselves, even in this life, to the spiritual planet of Krishna and become eternally blissful there, not being subject to such rebirths. And you know what I'm going to do? I am going to read one more verse. Verse 20. This is a very interesting verse. Parastasmat tu bhavanyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Okay. I'll read the verses again. Avyakta vyaktaya sarva prabhavant yahar agame rajriyagame praliyante tatraiva vyakta samgyake. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state. And thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. Bhutagrama saevayam bhutva bhutva praviyate rajriyagame vasha parta prabhavat yahar agame. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being. And with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Prastasmatubhava yo vyakta vyakta sanatana yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vanashyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So how are we doing with our traduction? It's okay. Surviving. Il parle français. Il parle créole? No. Okay. Okay. We'll try our best. You know, I've given some classes before in some countries. Well, I remember particularly, can I have some water? Particularly in Estonia, where we had 3 languages: English, that was me, Russian, and Estonian. But the Estonian translator didn't understand English. So we had to speak in English. It was translated into Russian, each sentence. And then that sentence was translated into Estonian. Talk about a challenge. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prajane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachya Deshitarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, how are all you devotees? Kimanya, comment ça va? Aapki tabiat kaisi hai? Okay, moi aussi. Do we have a cup? Stakan, yes. Yet. Okay. Yes, well, we have 3 interesting verses here. This is the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And Lord Krishna is talking about how this material world works in terms of creation, maintenance, destruction, and then again creation, and again maintenance, and again destruction, and then again creation. Our Vaishnava conception or understanding of the process of creation is that it is cyclical. It just goes on. Creation, maintenance, destruction, creation, maintenance, destruction, creation, and it's not like what you might possibly call a linear process where there's just some creation and then maintenance and destruction and that's it. No. Our understanding is that it works cyclically and it's just going on and on. In the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna mentions, he talks about the five subjects of Bhagavad Gita. There is God, there is the living entity, there is the material world or matter, then there is time, and then the fifth is activity. Srila Prabhupada explains that 4 of these are eternal and 1 is temporary. I hope we're not getting too sort of technical here. Of those 5, God, the living entity, the material nature, time, and activity, you tell me, all you nice devotees, intelligent devotees, which one do you think is temporary? He knows everything, so I don't think we can count him. But all you other nice devotees, which one do you think is temporary? Anyway, Prabhuji got it right, of course. Activity. The Lord is eternal. We are eternal. The material nature, matter, matter is eternal, and time is eternal, but activities come and go. Yes, they're temporary. So here Lord Krishna then, at this point, In the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he is explaining in very simple terms, not detailed, how the process of creation works. That Mahavishnu glances over the material nature. Mahavishnu. He glances over the inert material nature. It is just like a soup. And in that soup, all the different material elements and all the different things that make up the material world, they are all there. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, the three modes of nature, and various other things, desire, and different things. They're all there, but they are inert, inactive. They are not doing anything, they're just sort of just there. And Mahavishnu glances, and his glance is so powerful. His glance activates the material nature. You know, we glance sometimes. I mean, we glance. We look at things and glance this way and that. But there, generally, there's no real energy, shakti, potency in our glance. In other words, if I glance at you, we would not really expect you to feel that, like, you know, like an impact, like something struck you. You wouldn't really expect that. Now, sometimes, do you ever sometimes get the feeling someone is watching you? I'm not talking about becoming paranoid, but in a more physical sense. Do you ever feel someone's watching me? We hear that sometimes it happens. People they can feel like there's some energy being exerted upon them. Someone's watching them. One devotee told me, this might be slightly X-rated, so watch out. He was in, would you believe, a public toilet, Hare Krishna, doing whatever people do in such places. And he's sitting there, and suddenly he got this feeling, someone's watching me. How could it be in this little confined space? And he looked up, and someone was looking over the door. Anyway, perhaps I shouldn't have mentioned that. But sometimes it may be that people look at other people and there may be some energy in it, maybe. But otherwise, it's not like, it's just your sense of sight, and it's not like some actual physical power is being transmitted. But when the Supreme Personality of Godhead glances, there is actually energy there, potency. Not only that, well, in the glance of the Lord, hope you don't mind if we carry on a little. Is it okay? In the glance of the Lord, there is all the living entities. They are impregnated into the material nature by, not just via, but by the glance of the Lord. So now there's all the living entities in the material nature, and along with them is time, the Kala Shakti. The Kala Shakti, the energy of time. It is also present, being transmitted through the glance of Mahavishnu. Then on top of that, within the glance of Mahavishnu, there is what is called the Ichcha Shakti. Ichcha means desire, the potency, the energy of the Lord's desire. So all these things enter the womb of material nature. And then the whole process of the next creation is begun. How does that sound? Does that sound technical enough for you? Yeah? Pretty technical. But this is how it works. This is how it works. And time stimulates the karma of the living entities. The living entities at that point are sleeping. They're in a state, it's called susupti, means deep sleep. Not like what happens to you, at midnight or something. Not that sort of deep sleep, but it means like the consciousness is completely withdrawn for thousands of years, or even millions of years. So the Kala Shakti, time, contacts the karma of the living entities, all their reactions, stored reactions of their previous activities. And when their karma is stimulated and they start to get some karmic reaction, then they wake up. Then they wake up within this material world. Yeah? So this, in, you could say, fairly simple terms, is the process of creation as described, particularly as described in Brahma Samhita. There it's explained in more detail. And an interesting, very interesting point is that glance of the Lord. That glance of the Lord, not only does it possess energy and carry various things, including the living entities within it, but that glance is a person. Hare Krishna. The glance is a person. He is Shambhu. He is Shambhu. And Shambhu is one of the original forms of Lord Shiva. Actually, the original form of Lord Shiva lives in Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world, in the kingdom of God. And he is an expansion of Lord Vishnu, a type of expansion of Lord Vishnu. He has his own Vaikuntha planet, and there he is known as Sada Shiva. Sada Shiva means the eternal Shiva. But the supreme form of Lord Shiva is in the material world, at least in the context of the material world, is Shambhu, is the glass. And he impregnates the living entities into the womb of the material nature, Durga. And who is Durga? Is the wife of Lord Shiva. Yes. So there you see, Shiva and Durga as the first, contributing persons in the process of material creation, which you might expect because Durga is the presiding deity of the material nature, and this is the original reproductive happening. The original. Shiva, Shambhu, impregnates the living entities, not just one, or two, or three, or occasionally four. What's the world record? 8, is it? Or 7 or something. But billions and trillions and zillions of living entities at one go into the womb of Durga, material nature. Then, at that time, from the pores, the little holes in the skin of Vishnu, from there comes the universes, and all the living entities are placed in the universes. Yes. So then the material world goes on. Brahma is the first living entity to take birth. Lord Brahma takes birth from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu within each universe. Each universe has a Brahma. And then he creates all the planetary systems and species of life and so on. And then the whole universe goes on for as long as he lives. The lifetime of Brahma, according to our experience of time, is 311 trillion 40 billion of our years. That is the lifetime of Lord Brahma. But to Lord Brahma, that vast period of time, to him it's like 100 years. He feels it to be like 100 years. Because time is relative. Time is not just like, a solid object, just an existent thing. Time is flexible. Time is relative in terms of the position of the living entity. So for Lord Brahma, 100 years, he feels it to be 100 years. For us, it's 311 trillion 40 billion, give or take a few billion of our years. Yes. So, this is how the material nature, how this world comes into being. And then at the end of Brahma's life, this material world is destroyed. All the living entities go back into Mahavishnu. That's all of us. We all go back into Mahavishnu and stay there again until he exhales. Oh, thank you. Yes, it's good. So here, Lord Krishna is explaining these things. And in one of the verses he says, Bhutva, Bhutva, Praliyate, again and again, time and time again, the living entity is just thrown into one body, thrown into another body. Krishna, the Sanskrit word is Bhutva, 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 Praliyate. And Srila Prabhupada one time was commenting on this, and he said, yes, it is like that. Bhoot, Bhutva, Bhutva, boot, boot. The living entity is booted, as in kicked, from one situation to another. This is going on in material life. And in one life, we have a female body. And then the next life, we may have a male body. And then in the following life, we might have an animal body. We are not capable of predicting that. We're going from body to body. And like now, in this lifetime, we have these bodies. But in our previous lifetimes, who knows? Who knows? Take here, what is your name? Vinesh. Vinesh.
No.
Adarsh, excuse me, Adarsh. So this is Adarsh here with the purple mauve colored t-shirt and very nice tilak. This is Adarsh. He is a devotee, very good. He's a young man in a male body, but who knows? Maybe in his previous life, maybe, with all due respect and just don't get hung up about it, maybe he had a female body. Just hypothetically, let us say. And maybe in his previous life, instead of being a Darsh, maybe he was a Darshini. What do you think of that? Yeah, anyway. So now, if we show a Darsh a photograph of the previous life, a Darshini, the woman, and say, look, see, it's you. Then a Darsh is going to say, no, that's not me, look, this is me, I'm male. But if we showed somehow or other, if we went back into the past,